Welcome to your I Never Worry podcast with DB and John, where we discuss emotional intelligence with everyday people dealing with everyday situations. We have a short but powerful conversation today with Miss Tiffany Bell, a health and fitness consultant of 20 plus years and also an expert in stress reduction. But before Miss Bell came into the room, we had two unexpected guests stop by, so we sat them in front of the mics and had a brief conversation with them. You were in for a treat, y'all. It's your I Never Worry podcast right now.
I Never Worry podcast. I'm your host, DB Bedford, your emotional intelligence consultant. And we got Mr. John to the right of me. And we were taking a break in the middle of recording, and we stumbled across two guests who stepped in. So we wanted to give them opportunity to be on the show. So, young man, introduce yourself.
My name is Nasir, and I'm 11 years old.
All right. Thank you, Nasir.
My name is Asa, and I'm 10 years old.
And Nasir and Asa, are you guys married?
What?
Are you married?
What is that?
Married?
No.
Oh, you're not married. Oh, you guys not married?
No.
No kids?
No.
Okay. So we're not going to talk about marriage or kids.
No, that's not going to work here.
No.
Yeah. But one of you said that you had been interviewed before. Who did an interview before? What kind of interview was it?
It was like a teacher. It was at my school.
Okay. What was it about?
It was about like how I've been doing in my grades and stuff before Christmas break. And it was about like how like my mom was there too, and so it was about like how I was progressing, and yeah.
Okay. So this show right here is about emotional intelligence. You guys know what emotional intelligence is? What does it sound like it means? Emotions and intelligence. What does that sound like it means?
Sounds like emotional intelligence. It sounds like emotional intelligence, like the way you act or something.
Very good.
And it's like intelligent, and it's like what you're working on, and it's like intelligent, and it's emotional.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to fire Cuzzo. Cuzzo, you're out of here. We're picking up this guy right here. Very good. And so emotions, right? Do you guys see so one of you are 10, one of you are 11. In your world, the way you see things, do you see people have bad emotions around you? Ever seen people lose their temper?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, tell me a story.
So it was me and my dad, and we're going to his storage where like he keeps his stuff, and so on the way we were walking, this guy, he was skateboarding, and he fell down and he messed up. He was trying to do something, and so when after that, when he had got up, he started screaming at himself like he was mad at himself, like he had mental issues. He was like saying F-bombs and stuff. It was crazy.
So when you seen that, like what were you thinking? Like how did that make you feel?
I was like, I hope he doesn't approach us with that. I'm like,
because when we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about how the way people feel, like the energy, right, from him being like way up here because of his fall. You saying he hope he doesn't come over here with that because you didn't want that negative energy in your area. And this is why we try to educate people on paying attention to how they feel about things, and not only pay attention to how you feel about it, but what you do with those feelings. Have you ever lost your temper?
yes.
Oh, wait a minute, my man lit up right here. Tell me a time when you lost your temper.
When I lose at a game, then I get mad.
Okay. Why do you think you get so mad?
Because
Why when you're playing the game, why do you think you lose your temper? Like what about it makes you feel like you just want to be upset about it?
because I should have won the game, but then I lost at it, and
Okay.
That doesn't make you feel good. You don't like to lose.
yeah, I don't like to lose.
So do you think when you're making decisions, if you're upset, do you think you make good decisions? Sometimes? Okay. What about the times that you don't make good decisions? You know, do you ever look back and be like, oh, I shouldn't have did that?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why we do. That's why we talk about emotional intelligence, because even adults, right? We do the same thing. We get all in our feelings. We get upset about something, and then we say or do something, and then we got to go back and try to apologize and make right, and we don't feel good about that. So we're trying to teach folks how to think about it ahead of time. So for you, knowing that you get upset when you lose, one of the things when you study emotional intelligence, it's called self-awareness. So you know you don't like to lose. But here's the reality of it is, if you're playing a game, there's a good chance you're going to lose. You agree? So you want to start owning the fact that you can't win them all. And you don't look at that one loss that you had like the end of the world. You know that, hey, if I lost this one, that means I'm going to get back in and win the next one. And that's how you kind of recharge yourself. And then you don't spend a lot of time being upset and making those bad decisions. You just keep pushing. All right? That makes sense?
Yes.
All right. So the next time
And
you
there's nothing wrong
lose.
with losing too. You can make losing oftentimes, as adults we lose too. It's like a lot of times losing motivates you to do better.
Yeah.
You know, I've quit a job, started a business, just went everything out, and totally failed at that business and had to do it all over again. But I just can't get mad and kick around and go find a job. I got to just find out what I did wrong or what I could do better to win, and then go at it again. So losing can be a positive thing too, because it can motivate you.
Yeah, most definitely. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys coming on our show, and spending time with us this afternoon. You didn't have to. One thing I recognize, you guys are courageous because you had no idea. You don't even know us. You just came and sat down and started talking, But it's good, though, because that means that there's no fear there about what's out, what experiences that you can embrace in life. So we appreciate you guys stepping in and timing in with me.
Handsome young brothers, too.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Do I see Miss T. Bell over here in the house? Huh? Did Miss T. Bell just step in?
Coming up next on the I Never Worry podcast, Miss T. Bell is in the
Let's welcome her in here. Get that girl a microphone. Get that girl a microphone. She thought she was just gonna come in. Look, hey, let me put her on blast, right? Because she sent me a text. She was like, "I'm just gonna slide through and look. I got the youngsters with me, like I was gonna let her just be outside." So I brought the whole fam in. What's up, T. Bell?
Hey.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling lovely, actually. Thank you for asking. How are you feeling?
Fantastic. This is the I Never Worry podcast, where we talk about emotional intelligence through everyday situations with everyday people.
And where we at, Cuzzo?
We at our headquarters down here in downtown Oakland, broadcasting.
Well, what?
Yes, indeed. So I know you're a busy woman, and I appreciate you taking some time out your day to bless us with your presence. So I just wanted to, we had some conversations before we started the podcast. You and I, we've known each other for a very long time. What would you like to share? With our audience about, emotional intelligence, emotions, your biz, you have a business, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, can you share a little bit about yourself? Tell us who you really are and what you really do.
Okay. Well, I really am Tiffany Bell. I am a health and fitness consultant. I have actually been in the community educating people around the benefits of fitness and healthy living for about 20 years now.
Nice.
So I am highly passionate about nutrition and fitness and stress reduction.
Nice. Seems like a good fit right there. And when you hear the term emotional intelligence, what does that mean to you?
Emotional intelligence means longevity. That means happiness and living the life you need to live. It means developing a skill so that you can interact in life properly and balanced. Emotional intelligence to me is also just being smart about utilizing your emotions, because it is the emotions that we're driven by. So making sure that is that.
Yes, indeed. And, when we talk about, emotional intelligence, we've been talking about here before you guys got here about being able to use the skill when you need it the most. A lot of times, we might understand the concept of emotional intelligence, but when it's time to use it, we draw a blank. And so it's very important. One of the strategies for me is that I usually try to put some space in between my responses. I just practice that, whether it's good or bad. I just try to pause for a second and think about what just happened or what's being said. So I operate my life kind of playing chess, not checkers, right? Very strategic. So, what advice would you give to women, right, who may be listening when it comes to emotions?
Ooh. So that's so many layers. I don't know why breakups just jump to mind immediately.
Okay, let's talk about it.
A lot of women might be going through that situation, and I understand that it's heart-wrenching. And one skill that I believe, actually I'll give you a couple. One is journal writing. I think it's really, really important to write in some type of notebook and really express how you feel, good and bad, about a situation. I also think that music is very, very powerful. I also know that when you're dealing with certain hurts, you can't allow your entire day to go by in that particular emotion. You have to find some way to kind of limit the amount of time that you spend in that particular vibration. And that could be a low vibration. And so, for instance, with a song or two or three, you might utilize 3 songs to just be extremely upset or extremely sad. And at the end of that three song cycle, then you switch your emotion and go to something else. Giving yourself time to actually do what it is that you need to do for the healing, but also not staying in that zone too long where it takes complete dominance over your day or time.
That's a very interesting point, because
that was actually pretty dope.
Yeah. So I think it's very important what you said. Like, I like the way that you put that, because I think it's important to, hey, like you said, a few songs, like, you know what I'm saying, but not staying in that space.
You can't
all the time, because otherwise, like, the results of that are tragic.
Well, specifically, the result in that is where your internal makeup actually changes. You can actually weaken your heart, you can weaken your lungs, you can weaken a variety of different organs in your body. So you cannot stay in that emotion, because each emotion is going to emit a frequency, and that frequency is pretty much attached to an organ. So if you are in a hurt situation, you're hurting your heart as you continue to stay there. So you have to do something to completely shift that for your healing.
Your own well-being.
So I think sometimes seeing your child hurt can throw you back into that space.
Oh, yeah. You can be thrown back in the same type of traumatizing event, even if it happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. But unfortunately, it's the same calculation. Even for that child, you have to explain to that child, baby, I know you hurt, but we still can't stay in that space. And so in those situations, there's more than one person hurt, because that parent or whomever that loved one is hurting because they see their child hurt, which is hurt. So it's layers of hurt, but we still have to do the same thing. We still have to tune in to what's going on and fix it.
And I'm going to chime in, because it's like I got a real life situation, we talk about as a male, because so my ex-wife, right, when we divorced, right, there was a lot of, you know what I'm saying, it was heavy, and it was interesting, because we actually, on the surface, decided we were going to be divorced on mutual terms. And then what happened was, after it happened, it just turned up. And so for years, like, we were just like funking heavy. Like, we could not get a basic conversation out the way without it just being, like, I couldn't ask her anything. And same for me, right? Whatever she asked me to do, I was so resentful of her. I felt like because she was putting me through so much stuff, that it was hard to, be able to flow, with some basic conversation. And so what happened is that at some point I started watching, like Cuzzo just said, like, how my son was being impacted by our negative energy. and I had took him to one of